What is going on, everyone? My name is Zach. This is Zach Rogan Fitness, and today we are about to go over something that I'm sure many of us have struggled with. And if you clicked on this video, it's probably something you struggled with because of the title, and that is binge eating or compulsive eating. And most of us that diet very heavily or do bodybuilding or other sports where you're really restricting your eating at certain times probably struggle with this. I know a lot of other people in fitness struggle with this, and I personally have struggled with this a lot in the past, but I have found ways to cope with that and kind of help with it a little bit. It still flares up from time to time, but I want to share with you guys some tips that I have. So if you are ready for my top 5 tips on how to help reel in your binge eating, then stay tuned because I'm about to give them to you. Alright guys, so my tip number 1 here is going to be the 15-minute rule. Now you might be asking already, what do you mean a 15-minute rule? What the hell is a 15-minute rule? Well, something that I heard not too long ago and something I put into my routine over a year ago, or not routine, but my plan to help stop my compulsive eating about a year ago or so when I heard about it was a 15-minute rule. And what this 15-minute rule is if you are craving something, say all of a sudden you get a big craving for some cookies or some ice cream or whatever the food is, or pizza, it doesn't have to be desserts. What you want to do is you want to take yourself for 15 minutes, try to go distract yourself, maybe go watch a TV show, maybe browse some social media, just take something that's going to take your mind off of that for at least 15 minutes. And if you do not crave that food anymore, if that feeling of wanting that food is gone from your mind, then you have just successfully fought the binge eating urge that was coming on from your body. So your body, those urges usually last, they're very short, they last about 5 to 10 minutes, 5 to 15 minutes, when you are craving something that you don't actually need or want. And I've found it very helpful if I take 15 minutes and just go distract myself from that craving, try to take my mind off of it, and then I no longer want that food afterwards, then I know I've successfully fought that craving. This won't work if you take those 15 minutes and you are just sitting there thinking about this food. Now, sure, it might pop into your head here and there as you're trying to distract yourself, but the goal is by the end of those 15 minutes, if you no longer crave that food, then you've just successfully fought this craving. This has been a big tool for me. I find a lot sometimes if I want, say, some cookies, because I'm really into sugary foods, or some cake or something that just kind of hits real quick. Maybe I saw it, or I heard someone else talking about it. I try to take 15 minutes to distract myself, and at the end of those 15 minutes, if I no longer am desperately craving that food, then I know that it was just a craving, like a binge eating urge that was coming on, and I've successfully avoided it. If I still want that food afterwards, I might give myself a small portion of it, because that's another thing, is those foods in small portions are okay. It is when you start binge eating them that it becomes not okay. That's the 15-minute rule. It might work for you, it might not. These rules aren't going to be set in stone, works for everybody. These are just the things that I have found helpful, and things when I researched how to help control this that other people have found helpful as well. Now, our rule number 2 is going to be getting rid of the temptations. Now, what I mean by getting rid of the temptations is depending on whether you can or not, because there's certain instances where you might not be able to do this. Maybe you don't have full control over what is in your house, but go through and get rid of all the temptations that you can. So what I mean by that is whatever you find you struggle with, like for me, I said it's sugary foods, dessert foods, go and just get rid of that. Get rid of the cookies, get rid of the cakes, get rid of the pies, the ice cream, whatever is going to trigger those cravings, you want to get rid of it. So it's not readily on hand access. So I can't be like, oh my God, I want ice cream, and reach in the freezer and there's a tub of ice cream that now is gone. If that tub of ice cream isn't there and I have to make a 15-20 minute drive to the store to go get it, then I might be a lot less likely to get that, and that can even fall back into your 15-minute rule. If you are driving to the store and it is not like right near you, by the time you get to the store, that craving might be gone, and then you can just turn around and go back home, or maybe go to the store and get something else instead of that craving. But if you get rid of the things on hand that you can just binge eat on, you are a lot less likely to do it, because now you have to put in work to go get that food, and I find that is a big deterrent for me. Obstacles to this might be having kids. I have 3 kids, 2 of which love their dessert foods, so I will keep small portions of these things on hand for them, and it's still kind of a deterrent to me, because now I know if I eat that food and one of my kids is looking for that food the next time, they're going to be disappointed when it's not there because I ate all of it. So that's almost guilting me into not eating it as well. But this is especially helpful if you live by yourself, or maybe it's just you and a significant other, or you and family who are on board with this. Just get rid of the food that can be causing these temptations. I've found that really helpful over the past year. I keep a very limited number of those kind of foods on hand, and they are meant specifically for my kids, and I don't want to eat that food on them because they're expecting it. Now, rule number 3 is going to be not skipping meals. So, what I mean by this is, if you're watching this, you are probably on some kind of diet with some kind of meal plan or some kind of macro counting, where you're eating a certain meal every so often. Like, I try to eat meals every 3 to 4 hours, partially to help with the binge eating, because if your body isn't as hungry, like, we'll be real, when you're dieting, at some point during your diet, you're going to be hungry, whether it's the end of the day, beginning of the day, whatever it is, you're going to be a little bit hungry. But if you go, say, 10 to 12 hours without eating, or maybe 6 to 8 hours, but if you go a long period of time without eating, you're going to be really hungry. Your belly's going to be grumbling. You might not be feeling good. You might be feeling a little nauseous now because you're so hungry, and your body wants that nourishment so bad, it's just going to start craving whatever is ready on hand, whatever is easiest to get, or whatever junk food might pop to your mind first. I mean, I also work full-time in a retail store, so there's a lot of junk food that's easy for me to just buy in situations like that and eat, a bag of M&Ms, a candy bar, whatever it is. But if you don't skip those meals and you don't let your hunger get to that point, it's going to be a lot easier to keep your body in check, because you're not going to be fighting that hunger hormone that's just saying, give me food, give me whatever is the fastest thing to get. And that also plays in hand with keeping meals prepared. So if you get to a point where you're really hungry like that, it's really easy, if you have meals prepared, to just grab that meal, throw it in the microwave and heat it up and eat it. Or if it's not something that needs to be heated up, just eating it. So that is also something really good. And keep in mind, if you are dieting and say eating one of those meals is going to put you slightly over on your calories, but it's going to help stop that binge eating urge, then it is worth it. It is worth it to be, say, an extra 300 to 600 calories over what your goal is supposed to be for the day, and keep that binge eating urge at bay. Then start binge eating, and now you're talking thousands of calories over your goal. So keep that in mind as well. It is okay every once in a while to go over those calories. I'm not saying every day, but if you do it here and there throughout your diet, it's not going to be the end of the world. Or you could even also, if you go, say, 300 calories over your diet today, maybe dial it back 300 calories tomorrow if you're feeling good, like if the day allows that. Because remember, it's not day by day, it's, really weekly, monthly total, what your calorie deficit is adding up to. But that is a big one, is making sure you don't skip your meals and you have meals prepared. It's almost like a 2-in-1 tip, because it's going to make it a lot easier to fight those urges if you're not so hungry you're getting nauseous, and if it's easy to eat something healthier than it is to eat something that's going to be the junk food or the bad food that's going to start that binge eating urge. And that will segue us into our tip number 4. Tip number 4 is going to be finding healthy alternatives. So there's lots of ways to do this. There's lots of healthier ways to cook food if you want to put the effort in. Maybe you're craving pizza. Well, it's a lot healthier to make that pizza on your own and know what's in that food than, say, ordering pizza from a pizza shop. It's not as convenient as ordering a pizza, but it's going to fight that craving, and it's going to keep the food healthier. You know what's going in it, you know what you're putting in your body, and you can keep out the things that might make the food more unhealthy, keeping out certain oils, you know, making certain substitutes, like substituting yogurt in for certain fats in like baking recipes, stuff like that. And if you struggle with desserts just like I do, I actually have a book of 30 plus dessert recipes that you can purchase that are healthy, macro-friendly recipes that will help you fight these urges, because that has also been a big thing for me, is learning how to cook some of the foods I love, like cookies and cake and ice cream, Frosties, Pizookies, and make them healthier so I can still have them and kill those cravings, but stay within my diet and within my calories. And even aside from my stuff, there's plenty of recipes on the internet. I post some recipes on my YouTube from previous videos. On my Instagram, you can check out some recipes I post for other foods, but there's plenty of information out there on how to make some of these foods healthier, whether it be pizza, dessert foods, whether it's breakfast foods, you know, whatever it is, there's 99% chance there's a way to make it healthier, or substitute things out in the recipe that are going to make it healthier for you. Or just in general, making the recipe on your own can make it a lot healthier. So keep that in mind. There are ways to have the foods you love while still dieting. That's a big thing for me. And our last tip, and this is probably one of the biggest tips to a lot of people, is if you are struggling with these urges and these compulsive eating and these binge eating moments, then stop the diet. Depending on how long you've been dieting, this is probably your body telling you it needs a break. And evaluate how far you've gone into your diet. If you are severely restricting your diet and you're not doing it for like a competition, like a bodybuilding competition, some kind of sporting event or powerlifting show, then why are you pushing your body to these limits that aren't healthy in some senses? Because this is your body telling you it needs something in some cases. So stop the diet, take a diet break, do some reverse dieting, which I will cover in other videos on how to do that. But you know, ramp your calories up a little bit, have small portions of the food that you're craving to kind of keep that craving at bay, and just stop the diet for a little bit, because that can be a big thing. Everyone needs diet breaks. You should not diet for months on end and then just keep going. You need to take diet breaks, whether they're, you know, a week, a couple week periods of time where you just let your body eat back at your maintenance or a slight surplus in calories, so that way your body can readjust to it. Because while you're dieting, your body's going to do certain things to adjust and try to survive now that you're giving it less food than it needs to survive, like lowering your body temperature. It's going to lower your activity, so you might find a lot when you're dieting. If you're a person that's up and moving around a lot while you're dieting, especially long, like a couple months into it, you're going to be not moving around as much. You're going to be sitting down a lot more, you're going to feel a lot more tired. That is your body trying to adjust to the food, the calorie intake you are giving it. And you need to give your body some time off of the diet to readjust to what its normal state should be. And that will also help with your binge eating, because now if you're having some of these foods and you're eating more food, your body's not going to be as hungry. Your body's going to be able to adjust back to where it's been. And you don't need to be on these diets for months. I can't stress that so much. Unless you are training for a specific event or a very specific goal, you do not need to be dieting for months on end. Even for those goals, like those bodybuilding shows and stuff, we typically don't diet for months on end. It's usually an 8 to 12 week period, maybe a 16-week period, which we have, you know, cheat days and days where we get to, you know, up our calorie intake to give our body a little bit of a break from the diet. But that is my biggest tip. If none of the other tips have helped you and you are still struggling, is you just need to take a break from your diet. And that doesn't mean just go binge eat your heart out. That just means, you know, up your calories back to where your maintenance is, and kind of let your body and your mind have a break, because dieting is just as much mental as it is physical. So I hope some of these tips helped you. These, like I said, they're the 5 base tips that have helped me. It might take time. You know, these things aren't going to work like that. You kind of have to get the hang of them and learn how to insert them correctly. And they might just not work for you. Like fitness and dieting is different for everyone. There's not one set thing that works for everybody. But I hope these tips helped you. If you guys would like to see similar videos like this, then go ahead and subscribe, because we're going to do more videos covering, you know, reverse dieting, how to set up macros, all those different kinds of things. If there's anything specific you want to see, go ahead and leave it in the comments down below. But if any of these tips were helpful to you, go ahead and drop a like. It's really appreciated. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye.